Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to break down a book that has truly been a game changer for countless traders, Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. Now, this isn't about some secret indicator or a foolproof strategy. Nope. It's about mastering the single most powerful and unpredictable tool you have, your own mind.
Does this sound a little too familiar? Picture this. You've been watching a stock, and it's setting up perfectly. All your signals are screaming go. But right as you're about to click buy, that little voice in your head pops up, right? What if you're wrong? What about last time? And you just freeze. You watch as the price shoots up without you. That's fear. Then, a bit later, you're in a winning trade. You hit your profit target, but now a different voice takes over. Greed. Oh, this is going to the moon. Just hold on a little longer. So you do. And you watch helplessly as all those profits just evaporate.
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? You can be brilliant. You can study charts for hours on end. You can know the economics backwards and forwards and still get completely tossed around by these emotions. You know exactly what you should do, but when you're in the moment, you do the complete opposite. So why? Well, it's because the market doesn't just test your strategy, it tests your psychology relentlessly. And honestly, most of us show up for that fight totally unprepared.
So, in this breakdown, we're going to build the mental armor you need. First, we'll uncover the real reason most traders fail. Then, we'll dive into the psychology that separates the pros from everyone else. We'll lay out the core principles of that professional mindset, look at the daily habits that build real success, and finally, we'll talk about your next step to start trading in the zone.
Okay, first up, let's get right to the heart of the matter. The biggest reason why so many traders just can't seem to make it. It's a huge trap. This idea that if you can just learn one more pattern or find that one perfect indicator, you'll suddenly start making money hand over fist. But the reality is, it's just not that simple.
Look, we pour all of our time and energy into two main things. There's fundamental analysis, digging through company reports, industry trends, all that stuff. And then there's technical analysis, mastering charts, indicators, and price action. And don't get me wrong, both of those are incredibly important. But focusing only on them is like trying to build a stool with just two legs. It's always going to be wobbly and unstable.
And there it is, the third leg of the stool, the one that makes everything stable, mental analysis. This has nothing to do with analyzing the market. It's all about analyzing yourself, your beliefs about money, your emotional triggers, your relationship with risk and losing. Because without this piece, your own mind will sabotage your best laid plans every single time. Fear and greed will take the wheel, and they'll turn a brilliant analyst into a losing trader.
So that leads us right into the psychology of it all. What really is the mental difference between the trader who's always struggling and the one who consistently wins? Well, the gap between them is probably a lot wider than you think. Let's just look at the raw numbers.
Now this really lays out the harsh reality. Only about 10% of traders are consistent winners. A pretty big chunk, 35%, consistently lose. But look at that massive piece of the pie, 55%. These aren't necessarily bad traders. These are the boom and bust traders. You know the type. They have an amazing month, feel like a genius, and then give it all back, and then some in just a few bad days. It's because their psychology can't handle success, which leads to overconfidence, and it definitely can't handle failure, which breeds crippling fear.
And this just breaks it down perfectly. The average trader is basically a puppet, and their emotions are pulling the strings. When they lose, it's never their fault, right? It was a rigged market or just bad luck. They see risk as this scary monster they have to avoid. The professional trader, on the other hand, is operating on a whole different level. They have discipline. They execute their plan like a pilot going through a pre-flight checklist. They take 100% responsibility for every single trade because they know that's the only way to actually learn and get better. They don't run from risk. They treat it like a calculated business expense. And most importantly, they stay mentally stable because they know that any one trade is just one out of the next 1,000. It's statistically insignificant.
Okay, so how do we actually build that professional mindset? It's not magic. It's a process. And that process is built on a foundation of a few very clear, very powerful principles. Let's break them down.
These are the 4 pillars you need to build. First, you have to completely define and accept the risk on every trade before you get in. Second, you have to take total ownership of your results. No more excuses, no more blaming. Third, you need to develop an ironclad discipline to follow your rules, especially when it feels hard. And fourth, you have to start seeing the market not in terms of certainties, but purely in terms of probabilities.
So this is absolutely crucial. For most of us, risk is a bad word. It's something scary. But for a professional trader, risk is just the cost of doing business. It's the price of admission for an opportunity. They don't try to eliminate it, they quantify it. Before they even dream about the potential profit, they decide exactly how much they are willing to lose on this one trade, and they genuinely, completely accept that outcome. This one shift in perspective, it changes everything. When you truly accept the risk, the fear of that risk just evaporates. It's no longer a threat. It's just a number on a spreadsheet.
All right, so we've got the principles down. But what do successful traders actually do day in and day out? Because principles are the foundation, but it's the consistent daily habits that actually build your success.
And you can see how these habits flow right from those principles we just talked about. A pro can trade without fear because they've already defined and accepted their risk. They can cut a losing trade without a second thought because that decision was made with a clear head before they ever placed the trade. They know you don't need a crystal ball to make money. You just need a strategy with a slight statistical edge and the mental strength to execute it over and over and over again. It all comes down to doing the work before the emotions of a live trade can mess things up.
Oh, this is a big one. This is a huge mental hurdle for so many people. The outcome of your last trade almost always infects your next one. A big win makes you feel euphoric, invincible. So on the next trade, you double your size and you ignore your rules. A few losses in a row leads to fear, or worse, revenge trading, where you take sloppy, impulsive trades just to try and win back the money the market took from you. But the professional trader treats every single trade as a completely separate event. The market is presenting an opportunity right now. That's all that matters. The big win from 5 minutes ago? Irrelevant. The tough loss from yesterday? That's ancient history.
Okay, so we've covered the core problem, the psychology of winning, and the principles and habits you need to build. So, where do we go from here? What's the next step? What's the one thing that can start to change your trading for the better today?
This right here. This is the heart of trading in the zone. Stop looking for the holy grail system that never loses. It doesn't exist. Instead, find a decent strategy, one with the clearest statistical edge, and then turn all of your focus inward. The real work isn't tweaking your charts. It's training your mind to be disciplined and objective. Think about it like a pro athlete. They don't spend all their time looking for a magic pair of shoes. They spend thousands of hours drilling the fundamentals until their execution is automatic, even under pressure. Your mind is the athlete. Your strategy is just the playbook. The goal is flawless execution.
And that brings us to the final question. The market is always going to give you opportunities. And every single time, it's going to offer you a choice. You can react with fear, or you can respond with discipline. You can act on greed, or you can execute your plan. After everything we've talked about today, that choice should be crystal clear. Are you going to keep riding that emotional roller coaster, or are you going to start doing the real work of becoming the calm, disciplined pilot who is always in control? The choice and the results that follow are completely up to you.